Hey guys, James here, and today I'm gonna talk about the AWC and what what makes like games go into dampening, what makes some games not go into dampening, and what needs to be tuned. I'm not gonna go into specifics. I already did that twice. So if you want to check those videos, just look them on my YouTube channel. So yeah, but after watching AWC, I think it's pretty safe to say that a few specs are underperforming and other specs are overperforming, right? And I want to talk about why that is and why Holy Paladins are so good right now, and Windwalkers, Fire Mages are so good as well right now, and why it's this meta instead of, for example, a melee cleave meta that everyone was thinking it was gonna happen, and it didn't. So I just watched the finals from NA Cup. I watched the whole AWC, and before I start to talk about all of that, if I have any US viewers, I would love for you to, and you're a Warlock, I would love for you to answer, because I was navigating through the Warlock forums back in Friday, and there's this Warlock in the US forums, on the Warlock forums, Lau Hair, Laug Hair, I don't know, it's a random Warlock that is trolling and is saying Warlocks are fine. I just would like to leave a message, and if you could just give him the message, and the message to this guy is fuck you. You have no idea why Walrick's team won during Friday, and you have no idea why he lost yesterday really fucking miserably. And it's due to the fact that Warlocks are the squishiest class in the game, and the Turbo Cleave and the God Comp that Walrick's faced never once went on him. You had the Turbo Cleave going on the Shaman, and you have the God Comp from Ratapai going on the Shaman. And it shows that even at rank 1s and tournament players don't know or don't have enough games against Warlocks because they don't know how to counter them. It was clear during those games that they have no idea how to beat Walrick's team, and Drainer, which was in my opinion one of the better teams, because Drainer is just insane. You can hate on Prot or anything like that, but Drainer, the dude, is just an insane player, and it showed with the Prot player, right? So for that guy on the US forums, a huge fuck you, because you have no idea what you're talking about. Um, the title of the topic is Warlock team winning both series yesterday. Well, if you go watch the VOD, I don't even need to because I was watching live. Walrix never got focused. Okay, that's why it's legit the only reason why they won. And if you think about it, it was super retarded not to go on Walrix because Baka, the elemental shaman, will one-shot you regardless of you being on him or not. So you just focus the warlock and you win. Both of those teams could have just focused the warlock and just win in dampening at some point. Especially Ratapai team, the God Comp. The what actually triggered me, and I was watching and I was like, what the fuck is this team doing? Is Walrix actually trinket every single time against them without combust being available just because of meteor, and they never punished. All they needed was a fear on the shaman, a silence on the paladin, and Walrix was dead in a stun, even through wall if they had combust. So yeah, but they were relying on this gimmicky strat, which was to kill the shaman with mind games and Nature's Guardian proccing and killing the shaman instantly, which was a terrible strat. You just kill the warlock in that case and you don't even think twice about it. It's just the easiest strat in the world. Just go on the warlock. The moment he doesn't have trinket, you force 1 or 2 cooldowns from the enemy team because wall and ending resolve is not enough to keep the warlock up. But yeah, this was just one point that I wanted to make because these guys, I was about, when he posted this, I was about to actually level on NA server to level 10 just to answer these fucking retards. But but yeah, it just shows that people are so stupid. One Warlock in the whole AWC wins two series because the enemy team don't. And by the way, I farmed Ratapai and I farmed the Turbo Cliff that they faced, and I farmed them as Windwalker Lock Shaman. So it says a lot about those teams. Um, and yeah, this guy just comes here and fucking talks out of his ass and thinks he's great and is edgy just because he thinks warlocks are fun when warlocks are probably the worst class in the game right now, except for Destro maybe. So yeah, I don't know what this guy pretends. I don't care. Okay, talking about the AWC, sorry for this little rant, but this kind of shit actually triggers me a lot. It's like, for example, on Twitter, I was just discussing with the hunter on Twitter because he said he wants buffs, and I think hunters don't really need buffs to be honest. All they need is the method to change, and that's what I'm gonna talk about today and about the AWC. And I said, yeah, I'm all in for hunter buffs. Just remove Feign Dead Legendary or the talent that removes all dots. One of those needs to go. And he just started to laugh. Like, it just shows how people are clueless. Like, no class should have such a counter like Feign Dead is to Awfully Locks. No other class. No class should have it. Imagine if I could be immune for every 15 seconds I became immune to hunter damage. If you think that's a good design, good for you. You're fucking stupid. Okay, talking about the AWC, like I've been saying since the start of the season, pretty much. Holy Paladins need a nerf. The nerf to Divine Favor was obviously not enough. It made games not last as long. I'm not gonna talk about Prot. I think everyone knows that Prot is gonna get nerfed. No way they don't nerf Prot Paladins. Like they were, even though it was only one, it showed how flawed the design is with the instant heals. WoG needs a huge nerf for Prot. And I'm gonna be honest, being a guy that played during Wrath of the Lich King and that throughout most of Wrath of the Lich King tank specs were a thing, like KFC for example. KFC was initially played with the Prot warrior and the BM hunter, not an arms warrior, like in MOP and Kata. So I don't mind tank specs. What I do mind is when the tank spec design is bad, and that's the case with Prots. I wouldn't mind if trainer healed for high amounts of healing, as long as he needs to cast. So if he has to cast Flash of Light, sure, I really don't mind, because then you have a counterplay. The problem with Proto, however, is that the lower you are in HP, the bigger the WOG, right? The bigger the Word of Glory, and you have Light of the Protector. So you have two instant heals to use, and on top of a lot of cooldowns, right? External cooldowns. You have Sack, you have the Guardian thing, you have Spell Warding if it's against a caster, you have Bop, you have Sacrifice. It's just too much. And on top of that, you're playing with a Fire Mage, which is the tankiest caster at the moment, probably the second after Shadow Priest, and you're playing with a warrior that makes the whole team just super tanky. So you just get games like 70% dampening, and you can actually win at 17% dampening because you have 2 DPS and you have a tank. The tank is doing more damage than the enemy healer, so you win in dampening, and that's what happened. And I think they could have reached the finals and actually won the whole thing. When Drainer died, he had cooldowns to use, but he just didn't use it. He was probably waiting for something. It was legit the only misplay I saw him do in AWC, and it costed them the game. They were super far ahead at that point. But yeah, Prot Paladins will be nerfed. And what I want to talk, because I've been seeing a lot of people talking on Twitter saying that they want buffs, not nerfs, and they keep saying this shit. And And they keep saying, oh, Resto Druids need buffs, Mistweavers need buffs, and while I do agree with Mistweavers in the current meta just die. Against good teams, you just swap on the Mistweaver and he just dies, and if he doesn't die, you just swap on anyone else and it just gets him by default, so you win on mana by default. So I would like to see like a mana buff and maybe a true output buff, like but small buffs to Resto Druid, however, and this is what people need to understand, and Stoops actually said it extremely correctly, which is whenever you nerf something, another thing rises, right? And the problem with Resto Druids right now, it's Holy Paladins. Like it is the problem for Hunters as well, and mostly for Warlocks. I would say the main problem with Warlocks right now, besides being the squishiest class in the game, or Affley being the squishiest spec in the game, is just Holy Paladins being able to bring games to at least 20 to 40% dampening before you can actually do something. And like I said on my previous video, by then you need to survive around maybe not 10 goes, but 5 to 7 goes from the enemy team, and so that means you need to outplay them 7 times before you actually can score a kill. And if you don't outplay them once, your team just dies regardless of what you do after what you do. And you can't really punish the Holy Paladins, and this is the problem. Holy Paladin teams are so tanky because they have so much true output in healing, they have so many cooldowns that they don't go home, that unlocks a playstyle that is way more aggressive than it should. And if you go and check older videos, Holy Paladin teams back in Rat, back in Kata, or even back in MOP, the good thing about bringing a Holy Paladin was to unlock a more aggressive playstyle, right? For example, I just go watch TSG back in Rat, and the good thing about Holy Paladins back then, it was just that you unlocked a really aggressive playstyle. That's why basically TSG, Hunter, Hunter DK Paladin, all of those really aggressive, really tunnely comps were played with the Holy Paladin because they have a lot of cooldowns. The problem right now is that besides those cooldowns, they have a lot of healing, and they do have a lot of mana. So you need to nerf their mana, and you need to nerf their instant healing. Their instant healing at the moment, it's completely retarded. Holy Shock and World of Glory needs a nerf. It really needs a nerf, and the mana also needs a nerf. I don't mind comps like TSG, for example, being super aggressive and going all in on your healer or on yourself, whatever. What I do mind is not being able to, after chill, after surviving that, not being able to punish them still. And that is the main problem at the moment. They can use cooldowns offensively or defensively, and not really be punished. It's like they have enough to be aggressive and be defensive at the same time, and until 20 to 30% dampening, you won't be able to score a kill if the Holy Paladin is good. So I think this is a huge nerf to Resto Druids, for example. Holy Paladins being so strong, it's a huge nerf to Resto Druids, because all of the sudden Resto Druids don't really have the true output to survive, right? The burst meta, and since the enemy team can be more aggressive than yours, your team can't really punish the Holy Paladin team. And that, I think that is the main issue, is the Holy Paladins just being the best healer all around. They are the best true output healer, they are the best except for Prot Paladin. They are the best defensive healer, they are the best aggressive healer, and they have the most cooldowns to compensate for that. And on top of that, they are the best mana efficient healers, which they were kinda always were. But when you just combine all of this, you have a recipe for disaster in PvP, and that's what AWC have been. I was just super bored. If you are a high rated player, and I know the casters do a great job to actually cast with such hype, but you know, like, unless there's a huge mistake, which there were in the finals, but unless there's a huge mistake, nothing will die. Or unless there's a Windwalker on the team, and Windwalker, it's another spec that needs a nerf. Not on the sustained damage. I think the sustained damage being high, it's fine. I would like for more classes to actually do more damage, but I think they need to nerf the Zuwen and Weapons of Order. Weapons of Order last for 30 seconds, or at least the mastery does last for 30 seconds whenever you use Weapons of Order, and that's what makes them completely crazy during a 30-second window. So you can't really kite them, they're unkiteable, and if you put a Holy Paladin in their team, it just unlocks a fucking wave of pain, and that is the problem. The Holy Paladin is the main issue at the moment. And before nerfing or buffing other specs besides Mistweaver and maybe a Warlock tanky buff, I think they need it. But before buffing or nerfing other specs, you need to nerf Holy Paladin, like I've been saying. You don't know how the meta is still without Holy Paladins, because every game, even in twos, you face Holy Paladins. So how do you know, right? How do you know how the meta would look like and how the damage is high or not? You don't. So in my opinion, I hope they nerf Holy Paladins this week. I hope they nerf Windwalkers in terms of Weapons of Order. I hope they buff Mistweavers. I hope they buff Affliction survivability by a bit, at least. And after that, and I hope they nerf combustion for mages. Mages also have this, and then there's this huge synergy where the Holy Paladin can take the games into really deep dampening, and combust is just incredibly strong in deep dampening because you can't heal through the damage. I saw some games, especially from Drainer team, where they didn't even set up the combust, they just popped combust to try to kill through cooldowns, and in some games I think they did. So they need to nerf what unlocks all these other specs, and that's Holy Paladin. And then maybe small nerfs, for example, another small nerf to combust Chaz, for example, in Method. Chaz died through PS. He PS'd at 60% and he died through PS. That should never happen. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. That means combustion is completely broken. But I don't want combustion to be really bad, so I don't know, another slight nerf to the to Meteor, maybe like a 3 to 5% nerf to Meteor would maybe make it good. I don't know, but combustion needs to be nerfed. But before all of that happens, the main issue, the main focus should be Holy Paladins. Holy Paladins need to be gutted. They are way too strong. I've never seen, like I said, a healer so strong. They just need to get Holy Paladins. This will bring Hunters, this will bring Disc Priests, this will bring Resto Shamans, and maybe some Resto Druids. And Mistweavers need to be buffed. Then you slight nerf combustion, you slightly nerf intervene, you slightly nerf ignore pain, you slightly nerf um, what more? Weapons of Order, and all of a sudden you have this whole new meta just because you nerf one class and you slightly nerf these other classes. You have a whole new meta. You will still see Windwalkers, you will still see mages, and on top of that you should buff obviously Frost mages, Sub-Rogue sustained damage. You should nerf the Cloaked in Shadows Conduit though, but you should buff Sub-Rogue damage. I think Hunters are completely fine. The only problem is Holy Paladin teams, but you can see that and then buff them. I think Ferals would start to appear. I think more Warlocks would start to appear if you could actually the healer before 70% dampening, and if you just slightly buff their survivability. And then we go from there. The problem is we can't know how the meta evolves without the Holy Paladin nerf. This is the class that, or the spec that unlocks all of this type of gameplay, which is super one-shotty burst. Just wait for cooldowns. You have cooldowns, do a go, and you either kill or not. If you don't kill, you just wait, and you can wait because the Holy Paladin keeps the whole team like healthy. I would also, before I go, this is the last part, I would like more half healing nerf from Enhancement Shaman. They weren't touched, and from Rat Paladins. They still do too much healing. They still do 14k wogs, so or 20k wogs at the start of trees. And I think if we are trying to prevent dampening, then we should try to prevent that kind of stuff, right? I think dampening games are fine. I don't think everything going into dampening or just straight up dying in the first 10 seconds of the match, it's a healthy game design. It shows that the game is not tuned. It shows that some cooldowns are way too strong, others are not strong enough. And I think if games ended at 20%, 25% dampening, but they were super fast paced in between, it would be a way better spot than what we have now. But yeah, those are my thoughts, guys. If you are a US viewer, please tell that Warlock what I just said, that is a fucking retard, because he has no clue how Warlocks actually won every single game in AWC. Every game Warlocks won, it was the same way. They were just unfocused. They never touched the Warlock. It's a bad design, and when the Warlock, it's actually the biggest damage in arena if he's free casting. If you don't go on the Warlock, you're just stupid for not doing so. So yeah, that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you want, like the video, and I will come back with a video about solo queue. I was about to do it this weekend, but didn't really have the time. But I'm gonna make a video about solo queue and why it's bad. And yeah, see ya. Peace.